All right, we are live, Nathan.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to give a couple minutes here for people to start jumping in if they're able to jump in. But first and foremost, excited to announce it's our second episode of All Things Nerdy podcast with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe with Goku and all that stuff behind him. We have a special guest today. His name is Eli Barnes. He's the one with the great background. Basically going to be tackling anime, talking about how to get into it, what the best ones are, best fight scenes, best songs, right? Because there's so much to anime. There's so many different layers and things that people are attracted to it for. Some people love the animation style. Some people just love like the music to the intro songs, which is a big thing, right? The fight scenes, the story arcs. Like anime has something to offer for everyone, and that's kind of the stuff we are going to be tackling today. And Joe,
Yep. So without further ado, Eli, talk nerdy to us.
Yeah. So my name's Elijah. I've been into anime since I was a kid. Grew up on the Toonami rollout and old like late night accidental sci-fi channel movies and such. So I'm excited to get a chance to talk today just on new versus old, what's good, what's crap, what we think about the world of anime today. But I will try to not get
Let's
too
not get it.
too deep into the nerdiness because we're trying to get people into anime, not overwhelm them.
so for me, I think that's one of the hardest things when I look at anime. There's just so many options. There's so much stuff out there because I have not been watching anime since I was a kid. One of my buddies, Keaton Treadwell, big shout out there. He got me into watching like Attack on Titan. Eli, I watched some Trigun with you way back in the day, but Attack on Titan is really like what pulled me in, and I've enjoyed it a lot since finishing that. And then since then, I've watched like Vinland Saga. I started Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood yesterday,
Mm.
last night, actually, and stuff like that. But like, I have tried some other animes here and there, and there's just certain ones that are just not very popular to me. And then even for Full Metal Alchemist, I started doing some research. I was like, which one do I want to jump into? And the amount of information out there is just overwhelming. And I'm a nerd. Like, I love all these types of things. And even for me, like, it was just tough. Like, there's so many options.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you so like I go to anime conventions still every year, and like the hierarchy of weeaboo. That's the sort of the term for all of us out there. Um, you kind of just you don't dip your toe into the deep end of the pool really because you just won't make it back with some people want to just like role play their favorite characters and they're gonna talk to you about super obscure things that even for me being a lifelong a weeb, I can't connect with that. So yeah, I totally understand if you start like Wikipedia and things. I can't imagine what's out there for like any show. So yeah, but you picked some good ones to start out with for sure. I mean, like some popular stuff, some great stories, good animation, mix of comedy. There's certain like classic elements that seem like they're in every anime. You have like certain reactions characters have. You always need a little bit of comedy peppered in. Even in the darkest shows I've watched, there's always some comedy peppered in, just to keep the viewers like refreshed. Because I have walked out of shows just feeling like morbidly depressed because of what happened, or just being like, "What the hell?" So you always need that dual element there, and I
Oh,
think that's a good place to start, especially like with Full Metal Alchemist. You're like, oh, you're hitting some really heavy tones, but this is almost slapsticky a lot of times.
Yeah. I
I would,
mean,
I would, I would say, I would think like for a first anime, like I would say, try to go with Death Note. What would be your thoughts on that?
Oh man, that's a tough one because I think that would open people's eyes a lot to like how serious a show can be. Death Note was a show, it's one of my favorites, but it's a show that like had me on the edge of my seat. Every episode, it makes you like keep watching more and more episodes. But like psychological thriller, crime thriller, all these elements that you don't really think of when you think of anime, but they do it so well. The writing was phenomenal, and you're not going to be able to like predict the twists. And there's always, because it's anime, you can go outside the box so far. There's these sort of supernatural elements. that create the unpredictability as well. And that's really something that's very unique, or was at least very unique to anime for a long time before like the whole world just went CGI anyway. Also, one of the best opening theme songs for season one.
Oh, I think that that kind of brings us to another. I know you said one of the best opening theme songs. That's like another question right there. What, in your opinion, is the best anime opening song?
I mean that's tough because so like anytime you ask me like a favorite in a category of anime, I will have multiple answers. But um, Death Note was like one of these songs from a little bit older anime where everyone talked about the theme song whenever it first came out. They're like, why does this like hit so hard? It's like hard rock theme. And I don't know, it just grabbed you. Maybe it had something to do with the show being really addicting too, but like everyone talked about it then. Other songs that come to mind for myself, I think Cowboy Bebop probably has the most iconic opening song. It's jazz. If you don't like jazz, sure, but like everyone has heard the brass opening.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be my like ringtone, I think, for a while. But yeah, that's a really popular one. For myself too, I think One Punch Man makes every list of like anime songs that shouldn't like hit this hard. Another like hard rock, sort of like get you amped and out of your seat. Um, I recently came across this song and it got me watching. The song was so hilarious. I started watching the show, but the show is like roughly called "How Many or How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift," and the opening song is called "Onegai Muscle." And I don't know why it's just like stupidly catchy and makes me smile every time. And then a lot of bands in Japan that have been huge, like all-time rock stars, they've lent their talents to anime openings, closings, and things. And one of those examples was Great Teacher Onizuka, which is one of my favorite shows. But L'Arc and Seal is a band in Japan that did their opening theme song. Great song. The lead guy there is named Hyde, and he's still like one of the most iconic rock stars in Japan. It's just cool when you get those sort of collaborative efforts. But yeah, lots of good music. And you
I,
can
Good.
find a lot of it on Spotify too.
Yeah.
yeah,
How
you
could you
can.
not mention Bluebird, sir? Like,
Oh man, I mean, you could go on and on with all songs.
or even like the one by Linkin Park, like early days of Dragon Ball Z. Like,
Yeah, I remember. I mean, that's when like people became aware of anime music videos was because of the Linkin Park Dragon Ball Z tie-in, and I was like, this is the official music video. No, like this is fan made stuff. But 13-year-old me was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
well,
So so I will say I didn't realize how big and how important like the opening scene music and stuff like that is. I recently started playing like some fighting games and stuff like that, and I followed people on Twitch. I'm not going to name them or anything, but they got off on this like little tangent about like opening song like for animes and stuff like that, and the comment section was just going wild. So when I started watching, I started paying more attention to it. They're just such quality across the board. All the ones that I've listened to and seen, and I've been sent some clips and stuff like that. That I like, they're all just good, and you can tell they all matter. Whereas like a lot of our like opening theme songs for a lot of like the shows and stuff that we watch today, like my wife and I, we just got finished watching like Perfect Match. Like the opening scene did not matter. Like it's trash TV, by the way, but it did not matter. It served no purpose, right? It was like 5 seconds and over, but like they matter for anime.
Yeah, I think.
Kevin just put a chat and said that his favorite is the closing for Trinity Blood. So
Oh, I
haven't
don't even
heard that
remember
one.
that one. I have it on DVD even, and I don't.
Now I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go listen to it now just to see what that's
Yeah,
about.
I mean, there's so many options out there, and I mean, bangers. There's so many bangers out there, but yeah, you could go. So actually, like one of my playlists on Spotify I listen to the most right now is just like anime opening and closing songs, and it'll get me listening to like artists and things. But yeah, some of it's like emotional. Some of it is just gets you like you could listen to it in the gym or something. But the quality is really high, and don't forget the rule that when you get to the last episode of the anime, you are required to watch the opening and ending credits. It's just the rule. I didn't make it.
You didn't make it.
Uh,
Okay.
So like that's one of the things like Netflix. Like if I'm watching one of the animes on Netflix, it's like skip intro, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'll watch it. You know, like I watched like 14 episodes in a row. I'm not ready to skip yet. It's fine.
Yep. Man, it's Ryan in the chat just put the most that he remembers besides the Cowboy Bebop is Berserk. It says when you hear that
Oh
in,
man,
it's like when you hear that, it just leaves a chill. So that's, I mean, that's
yeah,
just another like how
for sure.
strong anime music is. Like,
And that's one of those shows too where it's like it hits different because
Joe,
losing
your
stuffed
bird is
animals.
killing it.
Um,
Move your mic a little bit, Joe.
there we go.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's different songs. Like I think the same way that like you were saying, like I don't skip the intros or whatever. Like it adds to the nostalgia factor, and that's so important in anime too. It's just like it calls you back to like moments in the show because you'll get emotionally attached to these characters, and to watch the intros, you see a little bit of all the characters, whether it's protagonists, antagonists, and you go through this whole like range of emotions in a minute 30. So yeah, even if the song is like a little mid, like the the whole intro itself could bring you back through like the whole watching experience.
100%. So that's what like anime is so well done for someone that's brand new to it. I never had an appreciation for it and like everything that goes into it. But from like start to finish, it has to be quality, right? Like it can like there are filler episodes like Naruto. Like there's a whole list you can go Google online. It's like filler episode, skip this one, skip that one. But nonetheless, like the quality, the important episodes, like from start to finish, are worth watching. Like you don't skip anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll mention this too. Full Metal Alchemist was a perfect example for me of a show that did not go that way. I watched like the first 3 episodes, and I thought it's a little too like. Granted, this was a long time ago. No one was talking about it. I didn't know anything about the show. I was like, this is too kiddie. Like this show is just silly.
What?
It's nonsense.
Too
Because
kiddie?
the first like 3 episodes of the original Full Metal Alchemist were just silly, and then all of a sudden like just children dying, and you're like, oh, I don't know, like
Whoa,
so.
spoilers,
I
bro!
know you don't know who. I'm not telling you
Hey,
anything.
we're all
Also, it's
family
like
here.
one of the biggest memes ever. But uh, yeah, it's like it's a lot like American television in a lot of ways, in that like you really should give it more than like the first 2 or 3 episodes. Um, and I think to find a show that's just like solid every episode is rare. It's not that they're not out there. Death Note would be a great example where it's like episode 1, like okay, I'm hooked. But yeah, I mean, and you have some shows where it's continuity. We're telling a story. You have other shows like Cowboy Bebop where the episodes are almost entirely standalone. Everyone tells its own individual story, and you could just jump in and out wherever you want. And I think that's its own art almost, because you're just to be able to wrap you in a character that only exists for like 22 minutes or something, like that's pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah. So answer this, Eli. If I come to you as I am, right, and I'm like, bro, I know nothing about anime, but I kind of want to watch it. I hear all these people like Joe. A lot of our coworkers watch anime and stuff like that, and I'm like, what should I start with? What would you tell me?
I think it's my argument for anime, and always has been, I've always tried to get people into it, is like there's something for everyone, because there's so many genres that don't exist in other like other mediums, other forms of media. And so you can do like something really funny, which I think is great to like pepper into what you're watching. But if it's your first show, maybe you just think like, oh, this is dumb. This is what I thought anime was. So you could watch something like Konosuba, which is just for laughs. It's just nonsense. But I think it's one of the funniest shows out there. Or you could start with something like Cowboy Bebop, which I think is a great intro show, because you have a lot of depth of character. It's the standard like 26 episode formula. So it's not overwhelming. Phenomenal music, good actions. Just like it has a little bit of everything, I think. And it's not too far out of like reality. Like, yes, the world that it's set in is, like futuristic, a little like fantastic, but it's not so it's not a huge stretch for the mind to comprehend. There's no transforming demons, no one's turning their hair blonde out of nowhere. It's like,
Right.
yeah, it's a little easier to like. You don't have to know any like anime tropes or anything to get into. I love, yes, I Miyazaki films for sure. I'm loving the comments. Thank you, Kevin, for mentioning Vampire Hunter D, because I definitely wanted to also.
Riley saying Sailor Moon. I mean, I didn't think about that one, but that would be a
Oh,
super good one
absolutely.
to start with.
Well, like when I got so aside from accidentally watching some anime, like I was there when Toonami first came out. 4 o'clock was Sailor Moon. 4:30 was Dragon Ball Z. So I ended up watching a lot of Sailor Moon because I'm waiting for DBZ to hit, right? But absolutely, that's like and Card Captor Sakura, yeah, they're phenomenal intro shows, and they'll get you introduced to what to expect from a lot of anime. Don't make a mistake of thinking they're all the same, because they're most definitely not. Again, try Death Note, but
Yeah, they're
um,
not.
but yeah, like Miyazaki films are family friendly. They're great. They still tell a story and get you involved in the characters. Just to get a little like intro into, oh, okay, like anime is not just all nonsense, silly, whatever. These are great options for sure.
And a question that I have is like, what is one scene from anime that just sticks out of like an iconic scene? Like, it just you think back to anime, that's your childhood, like that scene comes to mind like first.
It I feel like it's a very personal question, because
It
a
it,
lot
it
of
is.
things can hit harder for certain people in your life experiences. For me, though, just being a dumb 12-year-old or whatever, like Goku and Frieza on Planet Namek.
Oh,
Like that was it for
that's what I
me.
was
I was like,
that's what I was
come on,
about to
man.
say.
The first Super Saiyan, like that
Dude,
was it. It's like
that's
I
mine.
remember.
Like you see the
Yeah.
rage after, I guess no spoilers,
Mhm.
after something happens, and
I
he
think it's been
just
out long
first.
enough. It's like,
Right, that's true. Like you see the rage after like that happens, and just the buildup of the first time going
yeah,
Super
yeah.
Saiyan. Now it's ridiculous, and they're like blue hair and like
Right,
crazy
right.
stuff. But like back then, the OG, like that will always hold like a place in my heart. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, also I was so they were doing Toonami runs at 4 p.m. After school. Yeah, it gets us all. But then they were doing the like uncut episodes at midnight run, right? So I was staying up as a kid, till midnight to watch these uncut episodes of DBZ. The nostalgia factor alone is,
oh
is
yeah,
monumental.
For me, it's got to be Levi and Zeke on Attack on Titan. That episode, like again, I have a very limited, source to go from, but for me, that was beautiful. Like the animation, the quality, all of it is there. Like you're there, you want him. Like the fight, it's all built up and just like delivered beautifully. To me, that is that moment. Like anytime I see that, I get like some butterflies and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I get hyped about it. I actually came across it the other day. I sent it to a couple people on Instagram. I was like, bro, you know this. So
Yeah, and I can go through like dozens of scenes that like I have watched 20 times plus, because they give me those butterflies and like get the rush and whatever. Attack on Titan special though, because the character development is so strong in that show that when you see the like writers, or animators decide, okay, this is the episode we're really going to deliver on the action. They get it. They hit it hard.
yeah, they do. So I saw something the other day. It took them like 5 months to animate that fight, and that's why like they're like we're so proud of it. That's why like so much energy and effort went into it. They wanted to just crush it, and I mean they absolutely did. Like it
Yeah.
was beautiful and amazing. And dude, talking about like the character development on that show is crazy, but also how like brutal it can be in like anime. Like no spoilers here, but they just released a new episode. I'm not going to say anything, but there was a moment where like they were focusing on a couple people, and I was like, oh, there's no way that's going to happen, right? Like in TV today, that's not going to happen. And then like 2 seconds later, it happened. I was like, dang, can't believe that happened. That was kind of tough to watch.
That show will break you. Well, it'll just break you.
yeah. I will say like plot twists of like that's not gonna happen. That could never happen, and then it happens. Attack on Titan, like all the way up there. Like there's so many times I was watching, like no, it's not. Oh,
Love it or hate it.
like
That's how they roll.
Oh man. So best fight for you. So we talked about best scene, and maybe that is the Dragon Ball, but overall best fight for you across all the anime you've watched.
Yeah, well, I mean, like best scene, in my memory, that's sort of the nostalgia factor. But like best fights, I have so many to choose from, and really, we're focusing on one. I won't get too much into it, but like one genre of anime normally, which is shonen, and it's meant for like male viewers, and you have the fight scenes and stuff. But um, the, these animation studios these days like can do insane things. Like Demon Slayer right now is like the top anime globally, I think, and they just last weekend released another little theatrical release. It's basically a money grab. They just released like the last two episodes of the last season that aired ages ago, and then the first episode of the new season. But there is like hands down in my mind like the most impressively animated fight scene of any show I've ever watched at the end of season 2 for Demon Slayer. And that show in general is just so vivid, so well animated. I mean, it feels like I'm waiting longer than I am for new episodes and new fights and things in that show. But yeah, that the fight at the end of season 2 there was probably the most jaw-dropping fight scene I've ever watched. But another one that is absolutely needs to be mentioned is One Punch Man. Season 1 of One Punch Man, some of the best comedy I've seen, but they had this sort of collaborative hodgepodge for their studio, and it was just luck that they got all these guys who did all these things so well. And the fight scenes in there, especially Saitama versus Janos, which was just a silly fight, but there was no reason they had to go so overboard on the animation, but they did, and thank you to them because I've watched that one many times over and over.
Real quick, we got a couple comments. So Riley said One Piece could be a good funny one. So I looked at One Piece starting it. It is insanely overwhelming that it has 1,000+ episodes.
Right.
I was like, hey, I don't have time to tackle that. B, I have no idea where to start. Like, can I start on like episode 860 and work through how many is left? Like, it's just so much, right? But my understanding is like you can kind of just pick it up and run it wherever. That could be wrong. I don't know, but that was my understanding. And then Riley also said JoJo Bizarro Adventure.
Yeah, that's another one that's got a lot of episodes, but huge following. And my friends who don't watch much anime have still marathon JoJo's because it is kind of addicting. The first season, 2 seasons, a little slow, but again, one of those shows where it's got like I'm sorry, JoJo fans, I don't know how many seasons are out, like 7, 8, maybe more, but yeah, I know that it gets it's a ridiculous show and showcases the more silly side of anime a lot of times, but I think you really get into the characters, and it's got a good diverse cast for sure.
Nice. And then I think Ron said this to a fight scene. I could be wrong. Ron, please correct me if I am, but it said Vampire Hunter D versus Camilla and Mier. I'm not pronouncing that right. Meyerlink. There you go.
That's the second Vampire Hunter D movie. That's all that, like, aside from the books, like, there's just 2 movies for Vampire Hunter D. One was from 1985. Great classic movie. One of the first things I ever watched accidentally. This is from the second one, I think year 2000, 2001. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. The animation in that movie was gorgeous. And it was a little silly. The movie, like, the premise is like this sort of like they leaned really hard into this Western theme. But the movie is phenomenal. And yeah, that last fight scene, that's what he's referring to is gorgeous. Like, there's a lot of emotional elements, heavy characters, heavy themes, like, and it all hits. It definitely comes together for that last fight.
Nice. Whew. I mean, so this is a lot. We're running up on time. I want to be cognizant of your time, Eli. First off, very impressive. You just dropping knowledge like 1985, 2001.
I love this shit.
and Ryan, I mean, like, we prepped you for this. We had no idea you're going to bring in Vampire D. This dude just knows it off the cuff. That's crazy impressive. I don't even remember what I ate yesterday afternoon. So, wow. Kudos.
Hey, we asked him to talk nerdy to us, and he delivered, sir.
That's right. Well, Eli, any final words, anything else you want to say or add? First off, we appreciate you jumping on. I feel like I'm kind of cutting it short, but we're at the last 5 minutes. And
yeah, I knew it zip by. So definitely one thing I want to say, because we're on the theme of like, how do you get into it, right? And the way I find a lot of shows these days, because new shows are a dime a dozen, and there's not a ton of quality these days, unfortunately. I just go on YouTube and I will search for like top 10 whatever of last year, 2022. and you say fight scenes, or you say like transformations, or you say whatever you're looking for, whatever you think sounds interesting to you, you can find several lists. There's tons of lists out there. And that's great because you get like a little 30-second snippet of like, oh, that animation looks good, or that comedy looked good, or that character looked interesting, and you can jump into these things and get a little preview without having to like power through the first 3 episodes and maybe something happens, maybe season 1 sucks, whatever. Especially for something like One Piece, huge shows, 1,000+ episodes. Like, how do I get into this? Maybe something like that is the hook that you need to decide to finally make the leap or something. Like, there's a lot of shows that are wildly long. But there's a lot of shows too that are 26 episodes and that's all that exists, and they're just out there. But how do you find them in this sea of stuff? YouTube's a really great resource for that.
So I did something like that last night when I was trying to find which one I was going to go with. I essentially Googled just like top anime shows of last year, and it was literally the top 25 shows, and it talked about the awards that they won. And then within each award, it broke down why they won it. And like, of course, the best overall anime is what I went to, right? I was like, I want to read it. And they had like a whole breakdown of why like Full Metal Alchemist was like the best anime and all this. And I was like, yeah, I love this. This is why I want to watch it. So like easily for me, I went and started it because of what I read.
And I would say like asking just your network of people, like your friends you hang out with, like you're gonna know if they watch anime, and they're gonna be able to tell their experience about it. Like, I've watched so many good animes just by like my friends telling me. Like right now, I just started Fire Force, like 14 episodes in. I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. I watched like The Promised Neverland, Psycho Pass, stuff that like I've just been recommended by friends that have just been amazing, and I'm like, thank you.
I mean, your friends know you a little bit, so it's easier for them to be like, I think you'd like this genre. Exactly. I could tell you like 20 of my favorite anime, but like, what are you gonna like? And it helps a little bit.
Yep.
I will say you can almost always tell if a person likes anime. I feel like if somebody is like very anime forward, look, I don't want to say it's like being vegan. They're gonna let you know. But most people, I love anime, right? Like,
well, I mean, I literally wear it on my sleeve. So I've gotten 3 anime tattoos in the last year. So
yeah. So and then last one, we had another comment, Kevin. Not going to pronounce your last name because I would butcher it, but I'm sure it's not as hard as I think it is in my mind. Anyways, he said, I love the Ninja Scroll series fight scenes, and then agreed that the movie was the best fight by far. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Ninja Scroll, they did a series on it. There's an old movie, and that was also one of the first things I watched. And I would just give you some caution if you're going to jump into that one, because it basically has every kind of trigger you could imagine. So.
Okay. And then Blade of the Immortal fight scenes. I forgot. He said he forgot about those.
Yeah. Again, like YouTube top lists, you could Google like top anime of all time, but that's not going to be for your personal taste. You don't know what genre these are. Also, if you go into like a streaming website and you're reading synopses for these, don't get turned off by the synopses, because they cannot compile like what all an anime is about in some little paragraph. Like, it may sound super boring, it may sound dumb, whatever, but if people have recommended it for certain reasons, like, it's worth giving a shot, because they can definitely like pull out unexpected qualities.
Well, guys, we're at time. Eli, I appreciate you so much, man. It is clear that you love this stuff. We're definitely going to have to have you back. I think you're a great guest, so we're going to have you a reoccurring thing. I know anime is a huge thing. People love talking about it, so it's something we can just continually dive deeper and deeper into and things like that. But I appreciate everybody joining in. Joe, it's always fun co-hosting with you, my good sir. I look forward to many more episodes. I appreciate you, Eli.
Yeah, thank you to everyone too for the great comments and recommendations in the comments section. Really good.
Yeah. All right. And Joe, you got anything you want to throw in there?
No, I mean, we got nerdy with it.
Yeah, we did. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Great second episode.
Yeah. See y'all.
Cheers, guys.
See y'all. Take care.